Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Thunder, and this is gonna be the 6th tutorial on how to make a survival game. Today we're gonna be working on the crafting system, although there is some things we need to fix about the inventory system. Last video I forgot to make it so that you can actually see the hotbar while the inventory is closed. Because right now if we hit play, as you can see, hotbar's not showing up. If we open the inventory, it does. So we want the hotbar to actually show. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to drag the hotbar out of all menus. And we're going to change some things on the slot script. So let's go over to our scripts. Yeah, UI. Actually, no, not UI, inventory. And we're going to go into the slot script. And let's go to the start function. Over here where we get the drag drop handler, we're going to change this from drag drop to player, and then after the parentheses we're going to dot get component in children drag drop handler, and we are going to do the same thing for the inventory. This is not the most efficient way to do it, but it's the easiest one, so we're going to go with this one. So get component in children, inventory. Basically what we're doing here is we're getting our player component, which is all the way on top, and the inventory manager and drag drop handler are inside our player component, so when we do getting children we get it from there. So let's go ahead and save it, and let's go ahead and test it. So just wait for it to compile. Which is taking a little while than normal. I'm just gonna pause the video and keep it recording once it's compiled. Alright, so it already compiled. Let's go ahead and hit play. As you can see, the hotbar showing up and everything works fine. Let's just go ahead and test it. Don't worry about that, it's because I'm pressing Ctrl to crouch and S, which is safe. Alright, there you go. You can see I can drag it over here, and when I hit this, you can still eat. And I can still drag this here and this here. Alright, so there we go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start our crafting system. So go back to your scripts folder and create, actually never mind, we have it created right here. Over here we're going to right click and create a new C# script. We're going to call it crafting manager. And first of all, we're going to go to our interaction handler. Just going to look it up in here. So interaction, there we go. And over here we're going to add a reference to our, not interaction handler, sorry, window handler. That's the one we need. We're basically going to add a crafting manager reference on our window handler, so we can access it from pretty much anywhere inside our player. All we really have to do is get component and parent, window handler, and from there we can access both our crafting and our inventory system. I'm gonna pause while this loads. For some reason it loaded another Visual Studio. I'm gonna close this one. Actually, never mind, I'll just close the new one. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and once it's loaded I'll I'll get back to recording. Okay, it's not pausing. Alright, so it's loaded. Okay, so what we're going to do in here is we're going to, over here where it says inventory, we're going to do the same thing, but for crafting manager. So adding inspector, public, crafting manager, crafting. And we're not going to do a open/closed boolean for it, because it's going to be linked to the inventory anyways. So all we really have to do is just keep referring to the inventory. So now that we have that, we're going to go down here and we're going to do crafting equals get component in children type crafting manager to parentheses. Now let's go back to Unity and load our crafting manager script. Alright, compiling again. So let's go to crafting manager. And right over here, we're going to add a couple of references. First, we're going to do public recipe template. This script's not created yet, so it's going to give us an error. Then we're going to put over here public crafting recipe SO, and we're going to make it an array, and we're going to do recipes. This is going to be the recipes we'll have. So over here, this is actually, let's go ahead and create this first so we can just rule it out. Alright, so let's go ahead and we're going to go to our crafting folder and we're going to create both scripts. So first one's going to be a C# script and it's going to be called crafting recipe SO. The next one's going to be another C# script and we're going to call it recipe template. We're going to let's open first the recipe template. And let's go ahead and just create some references. So we're going to do public. First, let's use the unity.ui namespace. And we're going to do a public text name text. Then we are going to do a public text again. Requirements text. This is where all of our requirements will be displayed. And for the last thing, we're going to create a public image icon, which is going to be your item icon. Now let's go back to Unity and let's load our crafting recipe SO. This is going to be pretty much the same as the inventory. It's going to be a scriptable object. So let's go up here and do scriptable object and create the asset menu. And over here we're going to do file name equals new recipe. Then we do a comma. Okay, the comma is after the quote. Comma, menu name, and we're going to do survival game slash crafting slash new recipe. So now we're going to go ahead and delete both starting update. And over here we're gonna do public. Let's do image, and again not image, sprite right here. We're gonna do icon. We're going to do a public string recipe name. The reason I don't do just name like this, I don't do it like this because basically that's also a reference to the name of the file or a game object, and you're going to get some reference issue with that because it will take the name of the file. So if the file is called I don't know, let's do wall-2, and the recipe name is wall2, it's going to give you an ambiguous reference because they are both the same name, so it's going to take the file name. That's why we do this. So for next string, we're going to create a public string, and it's going to be, actually no, not public string. We're going to create a public array, public crafting requirement, and it's going to be an array, and we're going to name it requirements. Again, we haven't created this script yet, mostly because I just came up with this system. So, alright, I'm pretty sure that's all we need for it. So let's go ahead and create our crafting requirement. Let's go back in here. We're going to create a C# script crafting requirement. There we go. Let's open it up, and over here we're gonna do a float and an item data, which is basically gonna be the data that we need and the amount that we need. So public item so data and public int amount needed. So let's go ahead and save it, and we're going to go back into survival game. Now let's go to a recipe template. Okay, we already did this. Sorry guys, it's kind of late. I'm kind of tired, so. Okay, so basically now we're going to go ahead and generate our recipes. So we're going to do public void generate recipes, and we're going to, actually we need one more thing over here, which is a public transform. Guess what? Content holder. So content holder. And over here we're going to do for int I equals 0 if I is less than recipes dot length, then I plus plus. And inside here we're going first to go ahead and create the recipe, but we will actually just give it a reference. So recipe template recipe equals instantiate recipe template dot game object comma content holder, and then we're gonna do over here dot get component recipe template, and we're going to do the parentheses and close. Now down here we're gonna do recipe dot name text that text equals recipes I dot recipe name. Then inside this for we are going to run another for. So this is gonna be for doing the recipe name. So we're going to do here, instead of I we'll use B, because else we'll be using this one up here and modifying this one, so we don't want that. We'll do int B equals 0, then if B is less than recipe, okay, is less than recipes I dot requirements dot length, then B plus plus. So basically what we're doing here is B, which is this new for, if B is less than or recipe, which is the current one here that we're on the for, and its requirements, it's less than the requirements length, we just do B plus plus. So we go up one value. In here what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do recipe dot I think it's requirements text, yeah, dot text equals. So we're going to do a serializable string. I'm not sure if this is called serializable string, so don't take as a fact. Basically money sign and then the string, so we can put variables in it. And inside here we're going to do requirements recipe.requirements text, sorry. Requirements text. And then over here we're going to do comma. Okay, actually never mind. We're going to do something else. If b equals 0. So if this is the first requirement, what we're going to do is we're going to just give it the requirements text, the value of the requirement. Because otherwise, if we do requirements text plus the requirement, the new requirement, it's going to look something like this, comma, stone, and that's going to be the beginning, and we don't want that. We want stone, comma, wood, for example. We want it like that. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do recipe dot requirements text dot text equals actually do the money sign in this one, and over here we're going to do recipes, okay, brackets, recipes, I dot requirements b, and we are going to go ahead and do dot item name, okay, dot data, sorry, dot item name. And then we're going to do over here, I'm just gonna give it 2 spaces so it looks better. We're gonna do again same thing, so actually 2 spaces over here, then new bracket, recipes I dot requirements b dot data, actually not dot data, dot amount needed. So basically this is gonna show something like, let me just get out of this one. This is just gonna show something like stone 10, pretty much. And then over here we're going to do comma wood 20, something like that. If you don't want 2 spaces, just go over here and take one away. That's pretty simple. Now what we're going to do next is, else if it's not the first requirement we're going through, I'm gonna just copy this same code because all we really need is to modify it a little. We're going to go over here and I'm gonna add a comma right away, and below comma we're going to do recipe dot requirements text, and that's pretty much it for the generation of it. So now let's go ahead and make the UI and actually get it working. And now I'm thinking that we should be already like 15 minutes, so I might have to split this video into 2 parts, but don't worry, it won't be like the inventory system where it got to 4 parts. So let's go ahead and create the UI. I'm just going to do the visual parts, which is basically creating the background and that thing of camera to keep the video short, but all the critical parts that you guys need to see, I will do it with you all. But it's pretty much the same as the inventory, just creating a background image, then that background image we create a content holder, then we give it the size of the image, and then we just assign it to the crafting manager. So I'm gonna go ahead, actually let's do something first. Inside all menus, go ahead and right click and create an empty. We're gonna call it crafting. Right over here, add component and do crafting manager. And we are going to do this in a moment. Again, as I said, I'm going to do the UI quickly off camera, and I'll get back to you guys in a moment. Okay guys, so all I did was just create the background, and I created it inside of here, so it's pretty much right click over here, UI, image, and then just give it the size you want. Also, if you're wondering how to make the exact color as this one, if you've used Paint before or something like that, or Photoshop, you should be aware of it, but for those of you who aren't, just select the other image which in this case is the background of our inventory. Go over to the color, click on it, and this right here is the exact color. So we just copy it, select the other one that we want to give that color to. I'm going to change it really quick just so you see it. And if we go in here and paste it, there you go, it's the same color. Now next thing we're going to do, you guessed it, content holder, and then we're going to go over here, click on it, hold shift and alt, and select this one down here. Now next thing we're going to do, we're going to add the grid layout component, grid layout group. And before we configure it, let's go ahead and create a UI image. Just so we have a quick reference. Just try moving it around so it gets centered. And let's go over here on content holder. And first let's figure out the cell size. So I'm going to make it like this pretty much. And I'm going to, let's give it a value of, let's try 11. About 10. Yeah, that's better. So here we have a value of 10. And then next thing we have to do, here I'm gonna close this. We're going to duplicate the image just as a reference, content holder. We're going to go ahead and do first fixed, not column, row count. And we're going to do 1. Okay, it's column, never mind. Fixed column count, and it's gonna be a 1. And I'm going to change the spacing a little bit so it's not just like right on top of each other. And then I'm going to change the cell size on the X. But instead of upper left over here on this one where it says child alignment, I'm gonna do upper center. So we're actually taking size away equally. And then one more thing I'm going to do is move the content holder a little bit downwards so there's a bit of an edge. This is just visual stuff, but you can do it if you want. Now that we have this set up, just go ahead and delete image, one of them, and this one just rename it to crafting recipe template. Actually just recipe template. This is pretty much just going to be like the slot. So let's go ahead and just, I'm gonna go into 2D mode because it's gonna be a lot easier to design. And I'm going to deactivate the gizmos. Okay, not the gizmos, the grid, sorry. And now we're going to just focus on it. And inside here we're going to create a UI text. Oh wait, wrong one. Create UI text, not text match pro. Okay, so again we're having this issue, so just to solve it, go into crafting and create it there. UI text, put it into the recipe template and just make it 0. Just remember that it will look a little bit pixelated here, but it won't really matter. I'm gonna give it a size of 1. And let's go ahead and just put it over here. The reason we cannot see it, I don't know why it is. I'm just gonna do this a little bit lighter than the background. And this text is basically going to be our slot or name text. Alright, let's do this. I'm gonna figure this out really quick because we don't have much time left and I want to at least get the recipe template done. So I'm gonna figure this out really quick and then we'll get back to this. Alright guys, so this is what we're going to do. Go into your content holder. Okay, not the content. Okay, I just deleted something that I shouldn't. Yep. Into your recipe template, right click on it and do UI.text. Now, we're just going to scale it down. That's pretty much what we're going to do. Still gonna look a little bit blurry, but let's actually go ahead and change the color real quick. so we can actually see it. I'll make it just white. Don't worry, it won't look as blurry as this. That's just because we're on the editor. And let's go ahead and place it wherever we want. I'm going to go ahead and do it upper center. So, middle and upper. There we go. And I'm just going to give it a name like cooked meat. I don't know. Cooked meat. Let's go ahead and hit play just to check out and make sure that it actually looks good. And as you can see, it doesn't look blurry at all. So there we go, we have our text. I'm going to scale it down on the Y a little bit more because it looks kind of stretched out. Just move it up. Now duplicate this text and first rename the first one to name text, and then just rename the one you duplicated to we're going to do requirements text. I do recommend you leave a little bit of space between for this one specifically, because if you have a lot of requirements, like let's say stone, wood, metal, metal ore, all of that stuff, you really do not want it to just clip out, like you are not able to see it. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're not going to scale it, we're going to increase its width. So let's go ahead and increase it. And I'm going to make the font size a little bit smaller. So instead of that, I'm going to do like 10. Okay, too little, 12. And just to test it, we're going to do stone 20, comma, wood 10. And let's just see how that looks. Again, this is visual stuff, but you do need the two texts. Just keep that in mind. So yeah, it looks pretty good actually. And if we duplicate these a lot of times, let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna do comma, there, comma, there, comma, there. There we go. Let's hit play. And you see you have a pretty big space, at least with my setup. It's up to you how you do your setup. But you can see you can display a pretty good amount of requirements. Let's go back. And I'm just going to do requirements text, and for the name text, name text. And then over here on the recipe template, we're going to go ahead and do add component, and we are going to do recipe template. Now, okay, there's one thing I forgot. And I will make everything on the code. I'm not gonna put items. Actually, yes, I will. Never mind. I'm going to change the UI a little. So I'm gonna make this to the left. Same with this one. Right over to the left. But I'm gonna place it right by this one. So let me get the width of name text. 160. Okay, so that's gonna be the width over here. 160. There we go. But I'm going to increase it on this side, so I'm going to select the rect tool, put it over here, and same thing for this one, just put it all the way over here. Actually, I'm going to decrease it by a little, just like that, and again, same thing over here, because I want a little bit more space for the icon. I'm going to move it here, and now inside here, okay, just gonna take this one out because I accidentally put it into name text. So here we're going to create a UI image, and this is going to be our icon. Now let's go ahead and scale it down because it's kind of big at the moment, and just give it the size you want and put it wherever you want it. Okay, so let's go ahead and put it here. There we go. And that's going to be your icon. So go to your recipe template and now just assign each item where it should go. So name text, where name text is, and so on. And we're going to code so it gets added to it. Okay, never mind, we did that. Again, guys, it's not really that late, but it's been a long day. So if we hit play, there we go, there's our name text and requirements. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into our assets folder and we're going to go into prefabs. And right here, we're going to just make a prefab of our recipe template. Now you can just delete this one from here and we'll go to our crafting. First, we'll add the content holder right here. And then we'll add the recipe template right over here. Next, we have to do our recipes. So the code for that's already laid down. So I'm just gonna do create a new folder on assets. I'm gonna call it recipes. And I'm going to make a folder for each recipe just to keep it organized. I'm gonna make here, let's do, I don't know, hatchet. Actually, I'm gonna do stone hatchet. And I'm just gonna look for an icon. Most likely I'll just use the icons from Rust, as it's something really simple to get. And over here I'm gonna create a first crafting. Okay, I need to fix that, but I'll fix it later. New recipe, and I'm gonna do stone hatchet. I'm gonna give it a name, hatchet. Okay, stone hatchet, not hatchet. Stone hatchet, and over here I'm gonna give it an icon, which I'll download later. Over here, we are going to do one more thing. So let's go to our crafting recipe SO, and we're going to add one extra thing, which is going to be public item SO outcome, which is basically the item that we will get once we're done crafting. Then we're going to add a public int amount, outcome amount, which I'm gonna make 1 by default. And then over here we're going to add one last thing, which is going to be the crafting time. Public float crafting time, and there we go. Now I'm just gonna fix this because I forgot the G, and we're going to copy this line of code right here, Control C. And on crafting requirements, we're going to go over here, Ctrl V. I'm going to call it new requirement. And same thing here, new requirement. Alright. Now, mono behavior again for scriptable object. Save it and go back to Unity. Okay, there's a null reference exception somewhere. Space. Okay, yeah, I forgot this right here. Let me just make sure I didn't forget anything else. Okay, that should fix it. Alright, there we go. So now what we're going to do, let's go back into our crafting recipes, or recipes folder, stone hatchet. And over here I'm going to create 2 new requirements. So it's going to be crafting, new requirement, stone. And I'm gonna make it cost, I don't know, 10 stone for example. And I'm gonna give it the stone. Alright, there we go, stones. And then I'm going to create a new one which won't have an item data because I still haven't created that one. And it's going to be wood. It's gonna cost 20 wood. And let's just go ahead and create the data for that. So we go into items, right click, create survival game, inventory, new item, wood. Over here I'm just gonna make it wood, a piece of wood, and I'm gonna make it again a max tag of, let's change the max tag to 50. Again, you don't really need this because this is gonna be generic, and we're gonna make it so this doesn't show up on the next tutorial. I know I said I would do it on this one, but we're already pretty it's getting a pretty long video, so we'll just leave it like that. And just so it doesn't give us an error, I'm gonna give it something like just do check mark. Alright, so back to our recipes. Let's go recipes, stone hatchet, and on wood we're going to add the wood data. Again, I'm just gonna leave the icon thing too. I'll use the icon you want if you want to make one yourself or just download it from Google. It's up to you. So now just go into your stone hatchet, and over here where it says where this is lock, where this lock is, sorry, click on it. Basically what this is going to do is if you select anything else, it won't change on your inspector. So now we're just going to select this two and we're going to drag it into requirements. That's going to add both of them automatically. So yeah, there you go. So, and on the outcome, we're just going to give it, I'm just going to give it hatchet for now, but that's going to be the stone hatchet. I'm just going to change the name of this. That's it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and save it. We're going to go into crafting. Actually, just unlock the inspector. And we're going to add the recipe in it. And that's pretty much how you make a new recipe. That's it. So now let's go ahead and hit play and see what happens. Okay. Alright, it did not generate. Let me just check that we're calling our generate function. Yep, we're not calling it, that's why. So make start on your crafting manager, make the start function and just call generate scripts. Generate recipes. Alright, let's just wait for it to load. Alright, let's hit play. And yep, there we go, stone hatchet. Text. Okay, there is an error. Requirements text. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go into survival game and data plus dot. Okay, so over here we gotta do dot text. B is less than recipes I dot requirements dot length B plus plus. Let's go back in here and just regenerate it. It's also gonna give us the error again. Actually, never mind. There we go. Stone 10 wood 20. I'm just gonna look at the icon thing because I don't know what's going on. Yeah, we have no icon sign. Just gonna use the metal hatchet for now. Let's just make sure that it works, and if it works, this is gonna be the end of this tutorial, as I'm pretty sure we're past 30 minutes. Okay, so it's not working because we're not assigning our code. Let's go back in here and go into a recipe template. Not a recipe template, crafting manager. And over here in generate slots, we're just doing this, but we also have to do the icon thing. So recipe.icon equals recipes I dot icon, and then we just close it. And then over here we're going to do icon and then dot sprite. Save it, go back to Unity, which, yes, I'm recording this clip again, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit play, but you can see it already works. So yep, there you go, it works. So that's gonna be it for this tutorial, guys. I hope you guys liked the video. For next tutorial, we're going to be covering on how to craft. So when we click here, it actually starts crafting and it takes our resources away, and we can also cancel it. So the way we're going to do that is going to be left click crafts, right click cancels it. I don't think we're going to do a crafting queue, mainly because I've never done that before, and I don't think that just doing it on a tutorial is the best thing. It's not really the best idea, because I already know how to do all these things. I've done them for my game, and it's still being kind of difficult to me that I've done multiple times the inventory system. So I don't want to just start adding features that I haven't done before. Also, feel free to tweak the UI as you want. If you want this to be like little squares, go ahead and do it. It's up to you how you want your UI to work. Just make sure you have the name text, the icon, and the requirements text assigned. Even if they're not visible, just assign them. And that's pretty much it for this tutorial, guys. If you guys liked the video, hit the like button, consider subscribing, and leave a comment down below. It always helps. And I'll see you guys in the next one.